paid.
Oh, okay.
She'll get paid, she can use her sick leave, she has 90 days of sick leave built up. And it'll be less than 2 weeks that she'll
So
have.
that's added in there.
Yeah, that's what's, otherwise we'll roll tonight. Lots of reports at the end.
Good afternoon, and welcome to today's meeting of the Fairmont School Board. It is Tuesday, January 22, 2019. Roll call is all present except Mari Myron. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have minutes from last time to approve.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Agenda, we have a green agenda with one change.
I'll make a motion to approve the green agenda.
Michael?
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And celebrations today, I don't see any. So we'll go to you, Joe.
Well, okay, I've got a few things here. First of all, if you have your pink calendar with you, or your white one, Mike, we've got highlight some things. On January 20, first of all, January 23rd, tomorrow night, the Kids Against Hunger talent show will be at the high school, and it's always a fun event to go to. I believe that's at 7 o'clock, and that'll be a fun thing to attend. And on Thursday, January 24th, we have an operations committee meeting at 9 in the morning, and at 4:30 on Thursday, we have a policy committee meeting. And on Friday, the school board members that are available can meet with the high school students for breakfast at the high school commons. And that's kind of the highlight of the school board calendar. The enrollment report, we're actually up 3 students. We are up 5 students at the elementary, and we're down 2 students at the high school. And so we're serving now 1,647 students. And I just want to talk a little bit about the process that we use to decide when to have school. And I think there's some interest in the community for that, and I just want to share with you the process. I was with my 4 colleagues today from the Southern Plains Special Ed Cooperative. The superintendents met this afternoon for a meeting. We talked about that. But here's the process that we use. As superintendents, we watch the weather reports. We get weather report forecasts from the National Weather Service. We look at those pretty seriously. Our number 1 priority as a school district, though, is to make sure that all children are safe and that our staff are safe. And so last Friday, for an example, there was a Weather Service report that we were going to get a snowstorm starting at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, the snowstorm didn't hit us. In fact, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on snow days, and I checked with my process that I always use. I always call the bus company first to see what they feel about whether or not to have school or not. And then I call the superintendent, my favorite superintendent to the east, which is a Grenada Huntley East Chain superintendent. And then I call my favorite superintendent from the west, the Martin County West superintendent. And we try to make a decision that's the same for the entire county. Now, Martin County West is always in direct contact with the bus company up at Truman, because they don't have a full-time superintendent. And so Truman, Grenada, Martin County West, and Fairmont, we try to make the same decision. On Friday, 2 districts decided to go 2 hours late and then simply not have school. Martin County West and Fairmont decided to go ahead and have school because at 6 o'clock in the morning it was clear. But we got the kids in school, we got the kids to school safe. However, we made a decision within an hour that it wasn't safe to keep them in school. We really needed to get them home before the storm hit throughout the rest of the day. And so that's what we did. In retrospect, both myself and Martin County West, I think we do feel, in retrospect, we would have gone a 2-hour late start, kind of like we did today. So today we did a 2-hour late start, and We made that decision last night to give people plenty of time. I think parents like to hear from us the night before what we plan to do. So we did a 2-hour late start today, and Martin County West decided to go 2 hours late. Truman and Grenada decided to go on time. And so once again, the 4 of us split. But I got a phone call this morning at 5 o'clock from Martin County West that Allison Schmidt was driving the roads. She goes out and physically drives the roads. Our bus company drives that for us. And she went out and said, you know, the roads are in great shape. We actually could have had school on time today. But we already called a 2-hour late start. So we did. Anyway, but the bottom line is this. They told us in graduate school this would be the toughest decision we would ever make as a superintendent. But again, our number one priority is make sure our students and our staff are safe. And we try to err. If we err at all, we're going to err on the side of safety. What's interesting about last night's storm is that we really expected it to hit pretty hard. It did, but it hit about 35 to 40 miles to the east. So when you get to Alden, Minnesota, and Austin, Rochester, Cass-and-Manorville, all those schools closed for the entire day today because of the weather. So it's that's the process we use. But I will tell you, though, when we make the decision, it's a decision that we make jointly with the bus company. They've always told us that if they don't feel like it's safe enough to drive, they won't take their buses out of the barn. And so they work with us, and we work with our neighboring superintendents. And, 9 times out of 10, we probably make a right call. And Friday, I wish we would have just simply did 2 hours late and then canceled school. So I apologize. I did receive one phone call from a parent about that, and I'm sure some of you may have received some too. But anyway, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Well, you're going to get complaints either way, because recently we canceled some activities in anticipation of a big storm, and the storm hit. But prior to the storm hitting, I heard complaints that that we were being too cautious, we were being silly, and so so you do the best you can, and you're never going to please everybody.
Right, because we canceled a wrestling tournament and we canceled a dance tournament.
Correct.
And, yep.
And it was a big storm, and it was the right call.
Right. Well, once again, this coming Thursday, we're anticipating really, really cold weather. If you can recall a number of years ago, I think when Governor Carlson was governor, he canceled school for the entire state for a couple of days. And there were superintendents from the Iron Range that were really upset because they said, it's only 40 below. They said, if we canceled school every day it was 40 below, we wouldn't have school 3 months out of the year. And, but I really want, I will tell you, the night before a storm, superintendents all throughout the state don't get a lot of sleep. Because I personally get up about every 2 hours, open the door, look outside. I do. And because the last thing we want is, we don't want any child to get hurt. We don't want any of our staff members to get hurt. And I just want the public to know we take this extremely seriously. And like they told us in grad school, they're right. It's the number one thing we're going to catch holy heck for. And but life goes on. So
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate
Yep.
your comments, Joe. I think that it satisfies me. You can't live your life in the rearview mirror. I think we could have done it differently on a Friday, and I appreciate the acknowledgement.
Right.
I literally was watching my kids walk into their school when I got my phone ringing saying school is canceled. And I had a half dozen parents and, giving me the evil eye, like, are you kidding me? I just dropped off my kid. And I said it was Joe's fault, not mine. So I appreciate your comments. I know it's not always easy, but if you want more calls from folks, I'll make sure I'll pass out your cell phone number next time.
It's published.
It's public.
It's out there.
Thanks, Mike. I genuinely appreciate that.
He says he's up late at night, so you can call him anytime.
You can, yeah. I'm always watching a movie. Okay.
100 times out of 100 times, I'd rather be staying home and not having it be terrible outside because the weather forecast was wrong, rather than being wrong by sending kids out there, getting into an accident, getting staff in danger, and getting, into that situation. If that happens once, that's bad. If what happened Friday happens 100 times, I'm fine with it.
I will add one more thing. My other big fear as a superintendent is, and we've had cases of this in Minnesota, that school's been called off, and not every child stays home. They get in their car, and they start driving around, and then they get in a severe accident when school's not in session. And that's my biggest fear. So my hope is that if we ever do call off school, that parents keep their kids at home, and that kids stay home. Because the last thing we want to do is go to a student funeral because of bad road conditions. And so we want everybody safe every day. And but I take full responsibility for Fridays. Let's
Okay.
move ahead.
Okay, thank you. Financial business, donation, Dan?
We have one donation this evening in Appendix A. I introduce the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas Quick Trip, as part of its Milk Moolah program, donated $151.05 to Fairmont Elementary School. The dollars will be used for student activities. Be it resolved by Fairmont Area School Board to gratefully accept the gift.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Mike?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Murray?
Aye.
Motion passes. And I think we move to Julie. Finances?
Yes, we do. In your packet, you should have the wire transfers, the P-card statement, and then also the check detailed report. There isn't anything for me to report on transfers and wires. There is in the P-card report, everybody did get a P-card, right? Okay, thank you. Just a couple things I just wanted to show you. Barnes and Noble booksellers, there were 12 books that were purchased for the district, putting teachers first, and I believe all school board members received a copy of that, along with other, probably administrators in that as well. Bucket, building supply, there is, for the new band shelving that we purchased, and this is all because of the Schmickle grant that we received. There was some shelving built, and that's there, and then also there is, and these are not numbered, but there's GCI Woodwind, and there's a band room double bass rack, and that was purchased with some of that funds as well. So otherwise, the rest of the stuff, the P card is stuff for registrations. We use it for the registrations, of course, and then online orders and waste management, some regular orders, and also bills, so. And then in your packet then is the detailed check vendor report. Great American Opportunities, just what we paid for the cookie dough fundraiser was over $5,000 that was paid, so I know that was brought in was a lot more than that. Jostens, caps, gowns, and tassels, and that time of year will be sneaking up on us at all for graduation and that, so we'll look forward to that. Big South Conference, 62144, speech tournament entry fee. And Ingram Library Services, there was check number 62176. That is some media books that were purchased for students. And there's one here, SHI International. It includes mobile computing carts. I think there was 2 of those purchased, monitors, computers and printers and that. And those were purchased for various places in the school district, and most of those are new purchases, so. Okay, any questions on those? If not, then I would make a motion to approve the wire transfers for January 4th, 2019 to January 17th, 2019, payment of the January 2019 bills, and then the P-card payment, the P-card statement too, so,
Second.
thank you.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We are done with financial business. We have no new or old business. Personnel, Julie, medical leaves.
Oh, yeah. We have, FMLA leave for Cindy Johnson. This would be effective January 21st, 2019, January 18th. Actually, she did kind of come to a meeting and so I would assume that we are going to do that January, because yesterday was she in the building, so maybe we're gonna,
The
does it
date
make a date, does that make a difference?
was first semester.
Do you do it by, because being first semester, what carried on, does that make a difference because of the canceled school, or?
No,
So,
keep it.
18th?
Right, that was that would have been the last day of the
Okay.
first semester. Yeah.
So then I should make that then for the January 18th. So, okay? And
I see, okay.
I'm not sure how many years, but she's been in a part of our school district for many years. I know that she was in our district when my students were 22? Thank you. 22 years, and I'd like to thank her for her years of service. And so we'll go with that, okay?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then there will be Kristen Teegee's request an FMLA leave for the adoption of a child. This would be effective from January 21st, 2019, and extending for approximately 8 weeks, or as recommended by medical. So we'll make a motion to approve an FMLA leave request for Kristen Teegee effective January 21st, 2019, and extending for 8 weeks or per medical recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
I just wanted to ask Joe a question real quick. Could Joe perhaps explain the difference between, or if there is a difference between typical maternity leave and something like this per district policy?
It's in our contract.
Right, it's in the contract. There is a difference. In our teacher's agreement, there is a clause under the leaves that if a person asks for an adoption leave, that they can use 6 weeks of their unused sick leave. And in this case, Mrs. Teegee has plenty of sick leave built up over the years. And so she'll be able to use 6 weeks of sick leave for this. And then Judy and I were talking earlier, there might be some days during these 6 weeks that we don't have school scheduled. So she may have to have a pay deduction of no more than 10 days. It's probably going to be less than 10 days. Because a person can actually request up to 12 weeks of an unpaid FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act. And so those two kind of overlap. But when a person takes a pregnancy leave, when they deliver, they can actually take a longer leave based on the contract. So adoption is 6 weeks, and pregnancy leave can be longer.
And that adoption leave wasn't, I mean, we didn't always have that. That was added last, I don't know exactly what year, but it was not too long ago that we added that to the contract.
And it's a nice perk, and in many cases, especially in this one here too, as part of the adoption agreement, is that the one of the parents has to agree to stay home for at least 8 weeks. So it works out nicely that it's in the contract, and it's to benefit the not the new parents and more importantly the child.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good stuff.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
I don't think we got a second, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nicole.
Nicole did. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Aye.
Okay, try it again. Okay, Mari, extended contract.
Melissa Lumen has been serving as a long-term substitute teacher for Cindy Johnson during the first semester because Cindy Johnson was serving as TOSA role. Principal Nis is recommending that Melissa's contract be extended through the end of the school year to cover Cindy's medical leave. I'll make a motion to accept that.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, Julie, back to you, resignation.
Yes, we have Jan Barnick has tendered her letter of resignation effective January 22nd, 2019. She has served as a special education paraprofessional since 2010. She's currently on a medical leave, and so that position has already been filled. So I'd make a motion to approve the resignation of Jan Barnick, special education paraprofessional, effective January 22nd, 2019.
I'll second it.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Mari, retirement?
Sherry Swanson has indicated that her intentions to retire effective June 3rd, 2019. Sherry served as an elementary ELL teacher since 2014. We're currently advertising for this position. I'll make a motion to accept her retirement, the retirement of Sherry Swanson, ELL teacher, effective June 3rd, 2019.
Second.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we move to board committee reports. Nicole, the E2 staff board meeting?
Yeah, we met with the E2 staff on January 9th, and Julie and Mari were there as well as Superintendent Brown, so feel free to add your input. We were all at different tables, and so what I heard at my table of discussion is probably different or similar to what other board members heard. They expressed very much how they are appreciating the STEM position that Carrie Duhlmeyer's been put on for TOSA, or Teacher on Special Assignment, and how it's really improving the science education in the classrooms, and also the actual STEM, where they go into Carrie's classroom and have some great experiments and object lessons, and that they really appreciate it, both the students and the staff. There was a lot of talk about the mindfulness program that they've been doing for a few years now in the E2 part of the elementary school, and how much it's helping with students learning how to effectively and appropriately deal with the stress that they feel during their days, and that it really is a good program, and that we should probably continue to make sure that it's carried out through 3 through 6, and maybe even in the junior, senior high school. And there was some request or concern for students when they are, and this winter it hasn't been as much of a problem, but when they are inside because of cold weather or rain or snow, that those elementary kids need to move around. And if there's some way that we as a district can either see a more regularly scheduled daily fitness activity or class for those students, or especially on those days when they are stuck inside, if we could do that to help them. And there's a lot of research that supports the benefits of physical activity from an educational and behavioral standpoint. So it was very good. It was great to hear from the teachers.
Kids have been very fortunate, at least until this weekend, to not have had so much cold
Right.
weather that had happened. So, I mean, they were fortunate that way. We're going to pay for it now, but it's going to be. But I was late getting in, and so I didn't hear a lot of what was going on at my table. I apologize. I had to work that day and was able to come just for part of the meeting. But I was just astounded in all the excitement that I heard from the people on my table. And I wish I should have taken names and stuff to know who it was. But oh my gosh, I just couldn't believe the excitement that our teachers have for our students. I mean,
Yeah.
it is just awesome.
I will add that too, that my table they were very pleased with Carrie and the STEM experiments, and Jessica with the language situation. I wish that they could have 10 Jessicas to help
Yeah.
with the language problems. So it was very, very positive.
But we have a couple teachers that are working on
Yeah.
six
Awesome.
teachers that are working on it, which will help and expand that. But the language barrier is very hard. But like I said, it was very good.
I thought it was excellent too.
Okay, any questions? CER, Mari?
I went to my first meeting on the 10th, and it was very informative. Dave Adams talked a lot about welcoming newcomers into Fairmont and how we can get that out there so people know that it's aware of, especially for kind of the target group, 20 to 30-year-olds that are going to come here, get a job, and hopefully start a family and stay. They're not going to come and do be here for a while and then move on. So, Margaret also wanted to get possibly some students involved. She said she's noticed that when they have kids involved in these kind of programs in a leadership role, that they get more excited about it and bring new ideas to maybe us. I'm new too, but you know, the people that have been at that meeting for a while. So I thought it was very informative. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, Joe?
I don't.
Okay.
I think there's CR, they just had a brochure that went out here not too long ago. Was there one? Or not? Don't they usually do one in the spring
They
and the
do-
fall?
They do 2 a year.
Maybe it's not,
Yeah, I
hasn't
think
come
it's
yet.
probably more spring, for spring and summer,
okay.
maybe.
Okay.
Nicole, did you attend SDCC?
I did. And there was a lot of talk about the structure of SDCC next year, not that it would be changing, but the openings that there'll be, and that hopefully people will be applying to be part of SDCC. And it was kind of a shorter meeting. So.
Maybe you could just comment on exactly what their role is.
Well, each building has their representatives that come. SDC stands for Staff Development Curriculum Committee, and they discuss a lot of staff development, what they'll do at the staff development meetings. There's some Q-Comp discussion that happens, and so if they're interested, they're going to be, actually, I think at the elementary school, they talked about it on Monday at the meetings they were going to. And that I think the high school is going to be made aware of all the positions that are open at their Friday faculty focus meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Minnesota School Board Association Phase 2 training, Mike and Mari attended. Any comments?
I thought it was great. Lots of information that we'll need to review, but I thought it was nice piggybacking from phase 1. It's good information. We were in separate rooms, so I didn't realize that Mike and Joe were even here, so.
Yeah, we wondered where you were the whole time, and then I saw you at lunch. I realized I did phase 1 the night before, and then phase 2 Wednesday.
Yep.
All
Yeah.
day Wednesday. It was nice, instead of having it in a large room, they were smaller rooms, but I think easier to maintain attention. Having done a lot of continuing legal education seminars of a very similar nature, I thought this was actually one of the better done presentations. You know, some of them weren't as good as others, but some were, the gentleman from the House Research and Minnesota Legislature gave the most informative presentation that I've probably ever been a part of. And I had some context so I could maybe speak his language a little bit, but I mean, he was dropping knowledge all over the place, and you look around and everyone's kind of like, there's so much, but it was fact-based, it was accurate, and ultimately, as Mari mentioned, it'll be useful. It will be useful to have that context. So that presentation in particular, I really enjoyed.
And the handouts, I think both of you,
Oh,
the
yeah.
handouts were outstanding, weren't they?
Yes, and they weren't just, here's our presentation, let me read to you what's on this piece of paper. They
Right.
didn't do that. The gal from Aiken County was a wonderful
Yeah,
presentation.
she was
It
good.
was funny, and it was all financial stuff. And, you know, you think you know a lot of this stuff from past experiences, and I did, but there was a few little drops of knowledge that came out that was kind of I think, Joe, we had a couple of them where we're like, oh, I'd forgotten, or I did not realize that. So that tells you it was really a valuable use of time to come away with that stuff.
Well, the business manager from Aiken, she could have probably made a career in stand-up comedy.
Yes.
I mean, she was,
Yes.
and to think.
She's
now,
talking about finances?
Yes.
When you think about
Wow.
a business
Yeah.
manager with a sense of humor, sometimes those two things don't go together, but she was hilarious.
Yeah, she was good.
But she made, the one comment, the one sentence that just it hits me every time I hear it. She gave a distinction between how cities, counties, and school districts are financed.
Yes.
And she pointed out that cities and counties, what they do, they decide on what their budget's gonna be. And once they decide on what they're going to spend, then they go out and they levy taxes. Schools are just the opposite. We get basically told by the legislature, based on our student counts, that's why it's so important that we have students and customers that come, that the legislature takes a look at how many students we have, and they basically set our levy, and then we have to create a budget to match the levy. You see the distinction? It's huge. But we don't have taxing authority like cities and counties. That
No,
was
but I think
interesting.
we've done, I think our budgeting process, we've done better, I think, through the years, only because I have seen the difference in the years. But, you know, we are doing more forward planning, where, you know, we used to just go 1 to 2 years, and now we are looking at, you know, with our buildings and stuff like that.
Technology
That,
and-
yes, that we are looking more into the future more, you know, and I said it before and I'll say it again, that, you know, we went to our voters when we needed to do all these repairs on our buildings and that. And you know what? We need to take good care of those buildings because of that, because we owe that to our people and that too. And so, you know, but it's just so different how, you know, if anything, school financing is a big puzzle. I can remember one person who applied for the school board one time, and she tried to figure out the state formula. You know, how many pages is it, you know? And
99 pages.
yeah, and she tried to figure that out, and it's amazing
Right.
what I mean, our auditors and our you know, our business manager has to know in that. It's just amazing what they have to do. But I just feel that we do a lot of stuff that it's not always done the way that it is in other parts of
Well, and Michael
No.
mentioned Tim Strom, who works for the House, he doesn't work for the caucus, he works for the House of Representatives. And he's worked there, he says, since 1984. And so he's basically written every education law. And then Dr. Melcher from the Minnesota Department of Ed is the one that kind of costs it out. But anyway, after he presented, I went up and talked to Tim because I've known Tim for a number of years since we've gone up to testify. And I talked to him, I said, I just sent 12 letters to the governor, the new commissioner, and the chair, vice chair, and ranking members of the House and Senate Ed committees about our request to get vocational funding for classes taught outside of the regular school day. And Tim said, will you send me a copy of that letter so I know exactly what you're asking for, and I'll write you a bill draft. And so I did receive an email from Tim today that he received our documents, and he's drafting up the bill draft the way I've requested it, which is really limiting it because in the past it was kind of open-ended, and we want to make it so it's cost-effective, so the legislature would pass it this time. But you know, Mike's, your experience working up on the Hill, and it's important to get to know. One of the interesting things we both learned, I think, is that there's over 400 new school board members in the state of Minnesota. Over 400 new school board members.
Is that unusual?
I think they said it was higher than normal
it's
because.
higher than normal, I think. But
Because I've never been to a
I don't know.
training session like this where they had two big rooms. And they had two big rooms because you couldn't fit them all in one room. And that's why we didn't know that we were both there, but we found each other at lunchtime or during the munchie time. Pretty fascinating stuff. Anyway,
Okay, thank you.
leadership.
Okay, the School Board Association Leadership Conference, I, Julie, and Mari attended with Joe. So, who'd like to start?
I don't care. I'll start. What I would like to do is, and I've already requested that, and Joe will look into that, about getting our, kind of our theme here at the district. We listened 2 days. We opened with and we ended with. It was based upon a book that was written. I should have brought my book. The Trust Edge Experience is what it was on. There's 8 pillars of trust: clarity, being clear and unambiguous; compassion, care beyond yourself; character, do what is right, not easy; competency, stay fresh and capable; commitment, stand through adversity; connection, ask questions and listen; contribution, deliver results; and consistency, and act consistently. And so, I mean, I think mean, they're all good characters. I always go back to consistency. I think consistency is very important. I mean, these all are important, but consistency, I think sometimes we don't use quite as much. We need to keep that in our vocabulary a little bit more. But there is a training session that's available to bring to our district, I believe, and it was very interesting to listen to his, and like I said, I've heard him before. And the only reason I think I knew that I'd heard him is because I remember him saying that he wouldn't drink his calories. And I thought, gosh, I've heard somebody say this before, and didn't realize it till the next day that that's what it was. But I just knew that's what it was. That's what he had said. But I just think that if we can bring that, so we get some trust built up in our district, and it's not just trust but between ourselves, between administration and the school board, between teachers and staff and the school board, between our children, our students and us, between our community members. I mean, you know, it's just a great way to, you know, reach out and, you know, respectfully treat each other. So I just think it's important, and so we'll look into that.
And I
see it, you sent me some pictures,
Well,
but,
if you give one to give one to Mari
Oh,
too.
I see.
This is from David Horsiger's speech that he gave. But he talked about as trust increases in a system, the output gets better, the morale gets better, retention is better, productivity is better, innovation, loyalty, and revenue go up. And when trust goes down, it costs more money, there's problems, suspicion, attrition, stress. And when you think about our country right now, we just don't seem to have a lot of trust in anything. You know, churches, institutions, banks, Wall Street, government, you know, and which is sad, because when I look at our system that we have here, I'm so proud of what we have. I'm so proud of our faculty, our support staff, our kids, our parents, our taxpayers, our school board, our administrators. I keep saying, you know, I know a lot of the superintendents now. I know personally probably over half the superintendents in Minnesota. And I would not trade places with any other school superintendent right now. We have so many good things happening in our system right now. And we just have to keep promoting the good things that we have and keep encouraging our kids to do their very best, because our kids are going to live to be 85. And so when they leave, they're going to be around for 67 more years. And the question is, are they truly going to be career and college ready? And that's what all of us are pushing for. Board members, support staff, teachers, administrators, parents, and I hope kids are pushing each other too. Our sports teams, our music, you know, we have so many good things in our district that are happening. When you think about think about our band, the choir, the orchestra, the art department, the speech department, our 22 sports teams, except for the fact we lost basketball last night by 2. But anyway, we're doing pretty well otherwise. You know, we really are.
but, you know, winning isn't everything.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
it's a lot more fun though.
It's a lot
It's
more fun, but it's what they learn while they're playing and
teach
stuff.
you
So, I mean, I just want anybody to realize that winning's not everything.
That reminds me, on Saturday, there's a big wrestling tournament in Casson, Manorville. Are you going to go over to that, do you think, Mari?
I can't go.
Okay. I'm going to go to that because I'm going to do
My
a tour
family's
for,
going.
I'm going to take a tour of the Casson Manorville. They built a brand-new vocational center about 3 years ago, and I've been in contact with their superintendent, and he's going to show me around while in between matches. So I'm going to go over there for a twofer, to see a tour of the vocational wing and to watch our Red Bulls win a match. So, good stuff.
Mari, any comments?
I really liked the pull-out sessions that were about an hour and 15
mini
minutes.
sessions,
Yeah,
like,
you could,
yeah.
they had a number of choices, and you could pick which ones interested you. And Julie and I were in a couple together, and we were kind of, everybody did their own thing for a while, but they were very informative.
One of the best workshops that I attended had to do with how do you narrow the gap, the achievement gap between student groups. It's one of the priorities of the state. a lot of communities around Minnesota are being challenged with a huge influx of immigrant students. And it's, you know, the discussion that I attended, Joe attended as well, was presented by the staff from the Faribault School District. And in recent years, their demographics have been turned upside down. You know, what previously had been the minority population of students is now the minority population of students. And, you know, and so they struggle with trying to, you know, narrow that gap. You know, they have students that, you know, that they're dealing with that are new to country and sometimes even new to school. Students that, you know, have never been in school, don't know the language. You know, and so another area that we're fortunate is, you know, we have not been hit with that, but we still have a significant achievement gap. And in some of the school districts that, you know, that are having success with narrowing that gap are instituting, you know, very good programs, you know, that very well constructed programs that, you know, that improve student achievement by teaching or putting in place, you know, skills, teaching skills that will help ensure their success. And so I think it's, you know, and it becomes a district-wide initiative. And so, you know, it's something that we may need to look into because, you know, the Faribault staff said that it not only has benefited, you know, the at-risk kids, but the same skills benefit all their students. Mm-hmm. And so there are things that a lot of school districts are implementing with great success, and I think, you know, it's something that, you know, that we can look at in terms of providing an added advantage to our students.
In Faribault, they mentioned that their students, they speak 24 different languages in Faribault, which is a lot less than Rochester has 54. But there's
Worthington is another one, is where I think of a lot of different languages also are spoken
Right.
within the district, so.
But they have a program too that, you know, not everybody has to graduate when they're 18. You know, students can stay in school till they're 21. And so they have a number of extended years where students can actually spend more time. And as Rufus mentioned, many of their students coming to Faribault are new to country. I always laugh about Faribault because years ago I tried to recruit a new teacher to our district, and the person called me, and I talked to the person on the phone, had a nice conversation, and she said, "No, Fairmont, that's just north of Owatonna, right?" I said, "No, ma'am, that's Faribault." I said, "Where's Fairmont?" "Well, we're down on the Iowa border." And she said, "Oh, never mind," and hung up the phone. It's
People,
like,
but we get confused, they
We-
get confused all the time.
but we have electricity and we have paved roads and all those things. Anyway.
Okay.
I'll just mention something about the conference too. The conference I thought was really well done. You know, and of all the school board conferences in the country, Minnesota is the only one that it's a free conference. Everybody else, they charge to go to it. And it's phenomenal. And it's only a day and a half. And it's amazing what you can do and all the different breakout sessions. And it's nice to walk around. We visited St. James. I know you visited there twice, I think, because they were serving food.
That's right.
I think I visited, well, St. James,
Skipped lunch that day.
It was,
we did.
yeah, that was during one of the
One of the,
show and tells.
yes. St. James has, in fact, I see one of our family consumer science teachers out in the audience right now, Wendy. But St. James has a food service program. Their 10th graders work with Taher, which is our Chartwells, and they actually work in the kitchen. They actually help prepare menus. They prepare food. They actually, you know, get that experience working in the kitchen with the Taher employees. And the students were all dressed up in their black
Yeah,
outfits,
chef outfits
the
and-
chef outfits, and they had a number of treats. I had
Well,
the
they had.
I had the waffle and-
the yogurt parfait and.
Yogurt
and
parfait, and
waffles
there was
and
soup,
Oh, yeah.
chicken tortilla soup.
I
was
ate
very
the, I ate
good.
the waffle.
So Joe and I lawyered there for a while.
We did, and we did skip lunch. We ate so much there. I kept going around.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, they were very gregarious. They were not. They came up to you and they wanted to show what they were doing. They were very proud of
Yep.
what was going
And
on.
Well, and rightfully so.
Right.
And they were just 10th graders, though. I
Yeah.
mean, they're 15 and 16-year-old students, and,
Yeah.
but they had fun.
The instructors were having fun with them too.
They
you
were.
know, Yeah.
And,
How did they ever convince you to eat a waffle?
what's that?
They must have been very persuasive to convince you guys to eat some waffles.
Well, yeah, arm twister.
You don't like waffles?
There were little.
I've had a few waffles in my day as well.
There were little waffles, anyway.
Okay, staff welfare meeting. Julie?
Yes. Yep, there's my minutes. We just met last night. We talked about the high school science center having additional help for students to come in on Mondays and Wednesdays. There's different science teachers that'll help with that. And I was just curious, did we get any information on the classes, I mean, the extra help that was given in the fall of the year?
In the math and
Math
writing.
and-
Math and-
We haven't received any specifics
Okay,
yet.
Okay. That was one of the questions I just had,
Right.
is that, I'd just like to have some
Some data.
that says this is being effective, and do all students know that this is available? Are we making it available to all students? I mean, it's just, if it's the instructors, if the teachers are gonna be there, why not get more help in that? So that would be wonderful if we can get that information back.
And you gotta give kudos to the high school faculty that they're willing to do this.
Absolutely.
So in the math area, the writing area, and now the science department has stepped forward. And I just think
Absolutely.
it's great because not every student can learn from 8 to 3. Some need some additional
No.
help.
No.
And it's
And it's-
so great that we have the dedicated staff of the high school that are willing to stay after.
Well, even if they just have those other questions that they can't get answered, why, absolutely, why not? So
Right.
I think it's wonderful, but I would like to know some of the data and stuff that goes with it. We discussed strength and conditional coach for the weight room, and so there's no, just kind of came out with the semester amounts or the season amounts that we would have pay for in that. There hasn't been any hiring done in that, so we'll leave that for coming up, but just so they had an idea of what we would expect in that. We talked about the staff retirement, we talked about the staff resignation, leave of absence for Cindy Johnson, increased contract, lots of this is all to do. And Kristen TG, we talked about that, and then we briefed on some possible staffing options for the 2018-19 school year, so.
Actually, 1920,
1920.
that's my mistake. We're looking forward to next year.
Oh, yeah, you're right, it is.
I will
Here I
change
was
that.
thinking, see, I'm still not all bought into the 2019 yet.
Obviously, I'm not either.
I'm still writing 2018
And
on my checks.
number two should read strength and conditioning coach, not conditional. So I will change that too.
It helps to read it over.
We do have a writing center.
And here, I thought it was because I was reading it on my phone, so.
No, I will fix that before I send it out again. Thank you very much.
Okay, one more meeting. Mari, did you attend the lunch?
Yep.
yeah.
Yep, I was there, Nicole was there, Julie was there, Joe was there. We had 6 young ladies, 6th graders that joined us, and they were the quietest group to start with, for sure.
Absolutely.
Very timid. But then, once they got going, they had some suggestions, and,
They want individual salt and pepper
yeah.
packets.
That was one of the classmates' suggestions. One little girl also, her friend wanted butter for the pancakes. They thought about maybe a snack time. If you have an early lunch or a late lunch, it affects either whether you're hungry in the morning or the evening or the afternoon. We talked about the walk and talk, which they walk around it when they come early in the morning. Nachos for lunch is by far the favorite meal, for sure.
The meaty ones.
The
or
meaty ones, yes.
Beefy ones or whatever.
Mac and cheese, surprisingly to all of us, came in last, so not sure. We talked about some of their favorite books to read. I think a couple of them said Echo was one of their favorites, which I'm not familiar with that, so I'm going to look into that. And
Some of the students, we discussed their favorite classes. Math was, I think, kind of overall. One was history, and what was the other? Is that recess? No, there wasn't.
No recess.
There was no recess, which
Oh,
was.
one was her favorite, was reading.
Yeah,
language
reading,
arts.
that's what it was, but I was surprised that, I mean, almost always you meet with the kids and they always say recess. They, you know, they enjoy being out, running around and spreading their wings or whatever, so that was interesting.
Are those kids impacted by the science initiative at the elementary?
Not till sixth grade.
Oh.
Carrie, are they, the sixth graders? Okay. Okay, anything else?
The only other thing I would like to bring up is how we could get more board members. Maybe we can do something with our schedules and stuff. But I know that a couple times throughout the meetings that we have gone through the last time, the last weeks, is that the recommendation by teachers and whatnot to get more of the full school board together for some of these meetings, such as the, you know, meeting with the teachers. I know we met with the, you know, the K through
E2.
E2 teachers. And, you know, and just if there was some way, and so maybe you guys, maybe everybody doesn't, but, you know, have a schedule or what we can do, but, and if there was a way that you would have that we could get more board members to come, I mean, we want them to think that, you know, that it's not just a few of us that think their work is important, but we want to get so that they understand that we all feel that. And I know our work schedules are different. They understand some of that too, but, you know, we all have maybe some days off, or, you know, something that we can do. Maybe it's an early morning, maybe it's a later day meeting. And I'm not suggesting that teachers stay late, so maybe that isn't the right one, but maybe the early morning would work better. But I mean, I would like them all to realize that we all feel that they're important and we want to listen to their
And we sat through a
projects.
number of sessions on the open meetings law, and we also have to be careful that we don't have a quorum, because there are some meetings that if we have more than four, if we have four or more people.
right. But I
then-
mean, but then
we have to publicly announce that.
but then
and-
it's, you know, maybe all members don't come, but then maybe it's
Different members.
some different members
Right,
come.
right.
So,
But we have, like, you know, at the high.
and if we don't take action, we don't do any, but it's notified that we're meeting,
Right. We have
3
to-
days.
We just have to make sure that we announce 3 days in advance.
Right.
And we do, that's one reason why we read the
we
calendar.
do have the calendar and that.
But-
So, I mean, there's ways around that too, so.
I know, for example, though, at the high school, when we have high school breakfast meetings, there's a few board members that can make that and a few board members can't. And there's some folks that can't make it during the daytime when we have students, so it really, you know, we have 6 different board members, and I know all of you are busy. It's gonna be interesting, it's gonna be challenging to get all 6 of you in the same place at the same time.
We'll look at here today.
Isn't it great?
My apologies for being
Oh,
late,
yeah,
by the way.
yeah. You know, I can do early, I can do late, but middle of the day, it's almost impossible.
Well, the noon ones are, yeah, but I just was,
I
you
work
know,
through lunch.
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like, you know, if we can get to the elementary,
Right.
you know,
Joe, do you know if we're all in a meeting, but we're meeting with different groups? If there's 6 of us there, is that considered?
Probably would not, like when we met with the elementary
Mm-hmm.
staff that one day, we're in subgroups. I
We
was-
never, I mean, because if we don't all get together and meet.
Right, you're all not at the same cluster,
Right.
if you will.
Is that considered okay?
I would say yes, but I'll
You'll look into
check,
it?
I'll look into that.
Okay.
I'll ask the school board folks.
it's all fresh in Mike's mind yet.
What do you think, Mike?
I think if we want to avoid a quorum
Yeah.
or an open meeting law situation, to have all
But as
of
long
us
as it's,
there.
as long as
We
it is
publicize it.
publicized and no action is taken.
We actually received a handout, so let's review, I'll review
Review
the
that?
handout and
Okay.
I'll scan it and send it out to everybody.
The
Okay.
question is, we're in the same room, but in different parts of the room, I would say we're in the same room.
Yeah.
But that would
Yeah.
be, which, you could do that, it just, there's things you have to do in advance.
Well, we'll get you
We can call it a work session.
possible, but the MSBA did provide us
Yeah.
handouts of the do's and don'ts, and so I'll make that available to everybody, because
Thank you.
I like all of you, but I don't want to visit you in jail. That's a
No,
joke.
We don't want to be visited by you in jail either.
That's a joke, that's a joke. Okay.
A motion, on that, can I make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
And I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, make sure you turn your chair around.
No, that's right.
That's what we've been
Don't want rain to come
We have
after.
to turn this
I
up.
know.